$387 for 2 people in just 1 week. Hold on to that receipt, because I want to show you something that is going to make you genuinely angry about how much money you have been spending on food that you could have been growing yourself for almost nothing. I grew $1,500 worth of groceries last season in a space smaller than most people's bathroom. 8 crops, a few containers, 2 raised beds, and a grocery bill that dropped so dramatically that my partner thought I had canceled a subscription somewhere. Today, I am going to show you exactly which 8 crops did that, how much space each one needs, how much money each one saves you, and why, if you do not start at least one of them this season, you will spend the rest of the year paying prices that are only going to get worse. Stay with me till the end, because at the end of this video, you are going to walk outside and look at your yard, your balcony, or your windowsill completely differently. And I will urge you to start today, because if you wait until prices get worse, you've already missed the best planting window. Here's what most people don't realize, and the store owner don't want you to find out about this. The crops that save you the most money are not the ones that are the cheapest to grow. They're the ones with the biggest gap between what you pay at the store and what it costs you to produce them yourself. A tomato plant costs about $2 to $3 at a nursery or a few cents from seed. One healthy plant gives you 10 to 20 pounds of tomatoes over a season. At current store prices, especially organic, that's $30 to $60 of produce from a single plant. Multiply that by 8 crops, and we're talking about $500 to $1,500 worth of food from a space no bigger than a parking spot. You can as well turn this to a mini commercial product to sell from your garden. Let me walk you through each one, and I'll tell you exactly how much space you need, when to plant, and what you can realistically expect to harvest. Welcome to Epic Plant Hub, where we build resilient, productive gardens by blending modern science with time-tested, traditional wisdom. If you are new here, hit subscribe and join a community of growers who are done paying full price for food that they can grow themselves. Now, let us get into the 8 crops. Crop number 1 is tomatoes. And I want to start here because no single plant in the home garden delivers a more dramatic return on investment than a well-grown tomato. Let me give you my actual numbers from last season because I want this to feel real and not theoretical. 2 plants, indeterminate variety, 1 Cherokee Purple and 1 Sun Gold Cherry. By the end of August, I had harvested 34 pounds of tomatoes from those 2 plants combined. At current store prices for quality tomatoes, that is between $117 to $170 of produce from 2 plants that cost me $6 total at the nursery in May. Imagine $6 in, $150 out from 2 plants. This is awesome. And here is what makes that number even more powerful. Store tomatoes, especially the ones sitting in those refrigerated plastic containers, are picked underripe and shipped hundreds of miles before they reach your cart. A homegrown tomato picked at full ripeness has a flavor so far beyond anything in that store that people who taste them for the first time genuinely cannot believe it is the same vegetable. You are not just saving money. You are eating better than the store can offer at any price. Realistic savings estimate: $80 to $170 per plant per season, depending on variety and growing conditions. Crop 2, bell peppers. Bell peppers make me genuinely angry every time I walk past the pepper display at the grocery store. $3 for 1 pepper. Sometimes at $4 if it is red or orange, because apparently color is a premium feature now. I counted the peppers on a single plant in my raised bed last September. Are you ready for this number? 22 peppers from 1 plant that I bought as a transplant for $3.50 in late spring. 22 peppers at $3 each at the store is $66 of produce from 1 plant that cost $3.50, sitting in approximately 1 square foot of soil. My neighbor is always amazed by my garden plant produce. If that does not make you want to go outside right now and put a pepper plant in a pot, I do not know what will. Realistic savings estimate: $40 to $90 per plant per season. Crop 3, leafy greens. Crop number 3 is the entire leafy greens category, and this is where apartment dwellers, balcony growers, and anyone working with limited space gets their most dramatic wins. A bag of organic spring mix at the store is $5 to $7. It lasts maybe 4 days in your refrigerator before it starts wilting. You buy it on Sunday. By Thursday, you are throwing half of it away, and adding another bag to next week's grocery list. Here is what a single 2-foot container of cut-and-comb again lettuce does instead. You plant it once. You harvest the outer leaves when you need them. The center of the plant keeps growing and producing new leaves. You come back in 10 days and harvest again and again and again. One planting will produce the equivalent of 8 to 12 bags of store greens before the plant bolts. 8 to 12 bags from one container that you plant once. That is massive and worth the effort put in. The cut and comb again method is the single most underused technique in home food gardening, and once you try it, you will never buy bagged salad again. Realistic savings estimate: $60 to $120 per 4-foot row or large container per year. Crop number 4 is fresh herbs. This is the single most expensive category in the entire produce section of any grocery store. A small plastic clamshell of fresh basil, maybe 3/4 of an ounce of leaves, $3 to $4, and half of it turns black and wilts before you have a chance to use it. You paid $4 for something that gave you 2 usable servings before it became compost. A $2 basil plant in a sunny window or on a patio will supply you with fresh basil all summer long. I am talking about cutting a big handful every single week from July through September and having the plant grow back fuller and bushier every time you cut it. That is 20+ clamshells worth of basil from a $2 plant. Rosemary is even more extreme. Plant it once and harvest from it for years, literally years. My rosemary plant is in its 4th season. It is now a small shrub. I have never bought fresh rosemary from a store since the month I planted it. Parsley, cilantro, thyme, chives, all of them deliver the same story. Tiny purchase, enormous ongoing return. And the flavor difference between fresh herbs cut 30 seconds before eating and herbs that have been sitting in a plastic container in a refrigerated display case for a week is not subtle. It is dramatic. Realistic savings estimate: $150 to $400 per year across a basic 4 to 6 herb gardens. Crop number 5 is zucchini, and I need to be completely honest with you about this one because the problem with zucchini is not getting it to grow. The problem is that it will not stop. One plant, that is genuinely all you need. Most gardening guides say plant 2 or 3, and every experienced gardener reading those guides laughs because one zucchini plant in good conditions would produce more squash than a family of 4 can eat. I had one plant last summer that gave me 41 zucchinis between June and September. My neighbors stopped answering the door by August because I won't stop giving him zucchini. This is the crop that makes first-time gardeners feel like geniuses. You put a seed in the ground after your last frost. You water it, you stand back, and then approximately 6 weeks later, you have more zucchini than you know what to do with, and you are learning new recipes out of desperation. Realistic savings estimate: $40 to $80 per plant per season. The real value is in the volume and freshness rather than price per pound. Crop number 6 is green beans, and specifically pole beans, which are the most space-efficient food crop you can grow in a home garden. Here is why pole beans are extraordinary for small space growers. They grow up, not out. A 10-foot row of pole beans climbing a simple trellis made from 2 stakes and a piece of twine takes up less than 2 square feet of ground space and will produce multiple harvests of fresh beans across an entire summer. Fresh green beans at the store are $2 to $4 a pound. A 10-foot row will produce 8 to 12 pounds of beans across the season. But the savings number is not even the most compelling reason to grow them. 10 minutes before dinner, you walk outside and pick exactly as many green beans as you need. You bring them inside and cook them within the hour. The texture, the sweetness, the snap when you break one in half, it is not a fair comparison to a bean that was picked last week, packed in a plastic bag, shipped across the country, and sitting in a display case under fluorescent lights. Realistic savings estimate: $40 to $80 per 10-foot row per season. Crop number 7 is strawberries, and this is the only perennial on this list, which means it earns a special category of its own. Every other crop on this list you plant once and harvest once per season, but strawberries you plant once and harvest every spring for the rest of your gardening life. Let me explain why that changes the economics completely. A pint of organic strawberries at the store is $5 to $7. Year 1 of a strawberry bed is modest. The plants are establishing, sending out runners, building building their root systems, and the harvest is light. You might get a handful of pints. Not dramatic. Year 2, everything changes. The plants are established. The runners from year 1 has become full productive plants. Your bed has doubled in size without you doing anything. You are suddenly picking quarts of strawberries every week through the spring flush. And by year 3, your original bed has tripled, and you have more strawberries than you can eat fresh, so you are making jam, freezing bags of them for smoothies, and giving containers away. One investment. Years of return. Getting better every single year. And I need to address the flavor issue directly because it is not a small thing. A supermarket strawberry is bred for shelf life and shipping durability. It is picked before it is ripe, refrigerated, transported, and sold to you firm and pale pink in the center. A homegrown strawberry is picked at the moment it is perfectly ripe, warm from the sun, and eaten within hours. The flavor difference is so extreme that children who have only ever had store strawberries taste a homegrown one and ask what it is because it does not taste like the same fruit. Realistic savings estimate: $80 to $250 per year once fully established in year 2 and 3. Crop number 8 is garlic. And this plant surprises people the most because almost nobody thinks to grow it, and it is one of the highest value, lowest effort crops in the entire garden. Here is the full story on garlic and why it is so extraordinary from an investment standpoint. You plant it in fall. You largely ignore it all winter. You harvest it in early summer. That is the entire growing process. No daily watering, no pest pressure to speak of, no complicated timing. You put cloves in the ground in October. You pull bulbs out in June. And in between those 2 dates, garlic essentially takes care of itself. Now the economics: 1 pound of seed garlic costs approximately $10. 1 clove planted in fall becomes 1 full bulb at harvest. A pound of seed garlic contains roughly 40 to 50 cloves, which means 40 to 50 bulbs at harvest. At current store prices for quality garlic, that is $40 to $60 of produce from a $10 investment. But hardneck varieties, which are the varieties I recommend for most home gardeners, give you a second harvest on top of the bulbs. Garlic scapes. The curling flower shoots that hardneck garlic sends up in late spring before the bulbs are ready to harvest. You cut them off the plant, which you should do anyway, to direct the plant's energy into bulb development. And you have one of the most sought-after seasonal ingredients at any farmer's market. Garlic scapes sell for $3 to $5 a bunch. They taste like mild garlic. They are incredible roasted or blended into pesto. And most home gardeners who discover them for the first time wonder how they went their whole life without knowing about them. You are essentially getting 2 crops from 1 planting. Scapes in late spring, bulbs in early summer. Realistic savings estimate: $50 to $120 per 10-foot bed per year, plus the value of scapes. Total realistic savings from all 8 crops in a modest home setup is about $800 to $1,660 per growing season, from a space no bigger than a standard parking spot. And here is the number that should make this decision completely obvious. That number goes up every single year. Food prices rise. Your seed cost stays the same. Your soil improves. Your strawberry bed expands on its own. Your garlic stock gets cheaper because you are saving your own seed. The investment compounds in your favor every season while the grocery store just keeps going in the other direction. Before I close, I want to say one thing directly. Every week you delay starting any of these crops is a week you are paying store prices for food you could be growing yourself for almost nothing. Food prices are not going back down. The economists are not predicting a reversal. The supply chain pressures that drove prices up are structural, not temporary. The grocery receipt I showed you at the beginning of this video is not going back to $120. But your garden costs the same this year as it did last year. Seeds cost the same. Soil costs the same. Sunlight is still free. Water is still cheap. The gap between what food costs at the store and what it costs to grow it yourself is the widest it has ever been in modern history, and it is widening every single month. The people who start this season are the ones who will look at their grocery bill by October and barely recognize it. The people who wait will spend another full year paying for food that could have been growing in their backyard. That is the only choice on the table. Drop a comment right now and tell me which of these 8 crops you are starting with. I read every single comment, and I reply to every gardening question in the first 24 hours. Your question matters, and it will get answered. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell, and I will see you in the next one.